Hello and welcome back to Unhinged Curiosity with your host, me, Benji Halden. And in this week's episode, I wanted to talk about something that I probably get asked questions about the most. It's motivation. And I think what we need to start off with is by reminding ourselves that in life, in order to achieve anything, that we're going to have to do things that we don't want to do. The trick is finding out how do we do the things that we don't want to do. Now, if you are watching this podcast on video, you're probably thinking, Ben, are you going through a midlife crisis? No, I'm not. Well, kind of, because I just bought an electric bike that looks like a motorbike. So I thought I'd buy a bandana as well. It was my dream. Before I came out to Australia this time, I was like, I'm not going to rent a car. I'm just going to get an electric bike that looks a little bit like a motorbike. I'm just going to rip it along the Gold Coast. And when that time arrives, when I feel the wind through my hair, my feet off the floor, hitting a bit of speed, out in the sunshine, going past other people, I thought that is the day that I've dreamt of. And this morning was that day. I built my bike up last night and I had a load of work to do this morning. And I didn't do any of the work. I just went out on the bike and ripped it for an hour and had the best morning. And now I feel great. I had a bit of an off day yesterday. And this is the other thing that I want to speak about is there's different times in ways with motivation that you're going to have to treat yourself differently. And sometimes you need to be really kind to yourself and you need to think about the longer picture of, are you trying to force a circle through a square hole or a square through a circle? Either way. And you need to think about logically, are you just burning yourself out? Versus when I went to the gym yesterday and I wasn't tired, I was just a little bit stressed and I had things going on. And I repeated the quote to myself, fuck your mood, do it anyway. And sometimes you need to do that because I've never walked out of the gym and thought, I wish I hadn't done that. And sometimes you're going to feel like not going to the gym and not doing the thing because something's come up or something stressed you out. But it's asking yourself a question of how do you want to feel in an hour's time? And this is where I think routine and morning routine is important for motivation, because it's all about, some people say it's building discipline. I believe it's building systems. And if you build a system that when you go through it, you feel better for it, then ultimately you're building yourself up for success and be able to be motivated for longer. And my really simple sort of 10 minutes that puts me through the washer recently, that's been working well, especially if you're a person who wakes up maybe with some anxiety or stress, or you have to get out the red and into the green in the morning. There's a 5-minute breathwork video on YouTube. I will try and put the name or the link to it in the description of the show notes. And every time I do it, I just feel way better. And then I do an ice bath straight after. Again, if you haven't got an ice bath, you don't have to do that. You could just do a cold shower. Every time I do it, I just feel I feel $1 million. And I was outside after the ice bath the other day laughing to myself and my housemates when I came back. I'm like, what, were you laughing outside then? I was like, fuck yeah. I just felt amazing that I was laughing at the fact that how funny it is that 10 minutes before that I was in a terrible mood and 10 minutes later I was in a great mood. And it's a quote that I love is by Alex Hormozy, which is, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but I think he said something along the lines of it's basically most valuable weapon that you can have is to be able to put yourself in a good mood when there's nothing to be in a good mood about. And that small 10 minutes for me in the morning, now that I repeat every morning, just is exactly that. So if you're looking for something which is going to help motivate you, I think it's by putting yourself into the green first. Now, there's going to be parts of you that wants to change, and there's going to be parts of you that doesn't want to change. And that's just part of human nature. You need to understand where and why this conflict happens, and where does your drive for change really come from. Understanding what you want and why, because that's the main thing behind motivation, and it's what I've spoken about before. And that's why, again, the morning routine was really important in finding and thinking, what do I want? Because I think we spend so much of our life in a car watching what other people do. Stop allowing others to drive your fucking car, or worrying about the other cars that are on the road, and then wondering why yours is smashed up to shit, sitting in a ditch and not being able to get back on the road. Grab hold of the fucking wheel and take control of your own vehicle. And that's the big thing. You need to take control of you and your life. You need to be at the steering wheel of it. You need to not be thinking about what the other person's doing or how far ahead they are from you or where they're up to in life. Grab the wheel of your fucking life and take control of it. And don't allow other people to take control of your wheel. Or don't get so caught off guard by watching other cars and what they're doing on the road that you forget that you're in control of your life and you're in control of your vessel. And that's a thing that's so easily done. I think it's so difficult not to do with the likes of media and social media. Focus on you in every single aspect, and trust me, life will get better. And the one thing that we need to really think about with routine is that routine needs to be backed by discipline. Do it despite your circumstances. And this was what happened with me in the gym yesterday. I needed to do it despite my circumstances. And that is what is really going to push you and drive you. You know, I no longer use it as a tool to do something, as relying on motivation is a poor tool to either reach a goal or get something done. I think people look at motivation the wrong way around. A lot of the time, motivation comes after action. Action is such a great cure for anything. Whether you're anxious or stressed, or sad or lonely or unhappy, take action on something. It'll create a mini spark of motivation. People are sticking their head out the window expecting motivation to come along and slap them across the face. That's going to spin them into action for the day. But it's the action that you take first, then motivation follows up. And that's why I like analogies like that. It's the same when a fisherman's at sea. You can't just sit in the boat and expect the fish to jump in. He's got to cast his rod out. He's got to paddle the bait. He's got to take action for them to be able to pull motivation in. And it's the same, take action. Do something. Do anything apart from just sit there. And motivation will come to you. It's the same as, we're going to speak a little bit today's podcast about manifestation as well. And I think manifesting things and motivation fall in hand really, really well. Because if you put things out into the world, the universe, or you take action and you do something, those things will come around you like an energy. It'll come back to you, trust me. So it's this motivation, and like we said before, there's this part of you that wants to change, a part of you that doesn't want to change. And there's shit that you're going to feel like doing, and there's shit that you're going to feel like you don't want to do. By any means, you do not want to do it. And the thing that you've got to try and think about is the you of tomorrow. How do I set up a better world for me in the future? And that's where motivation will start creeping in, because you've got to think about the you of tomorrow. You got to think, or I have to think, what does Ben tomorrow, what does Benji tomorrow really want? And is it what I'm doing now? Is what I'm doing today or right now contributing to that? And this is why I always bang the drum of do it for the you of tomorrow. Delayed gratification. Just do the difficult thing now, and the you of tomorrow is going to have so much more motivation. I think that's a really powerful thing. If you can just, think about the version of you that is sitting there in the future. The version of you in the past is gone, it's dead, it's dust. There's a version of you that's in the future that you can really help out. You can't help the you of the past. He's going through what you've already been through, or she's going through what you've already been through. But the he or she of you tomorrow, you can help them out. Because later is going to arrive soon. So you can accept tomorrow now and make it a better place. So I really want to talk about how to motivate yourself to work hard. Because I think that's the thing that we all really want to do. We want to figure out, how are some people so motivated? How are some people doing things and I'm sat at the desk procrastinating daily, not getting the thing done, and I get to the end of every day and I just think, there's another day where the day's got away from me. I haven't moved further towards my goals and I feel more anxious about it. It's this vicious circle. I think the first thing to ask yourself is, what are you optimizing for? And what I mean by that is, we're coming back to our why. Why are we doing it? Are we just doing it because other people are doing it? And I gave this example in maybe a couple of podcasts ago. And it was a day that was a big reflection point for me where I was thinking about High Rocks and thinking about how after I get the surgery on my knee, I really want to come back and be a really good to high level athlete. And then it got me thinking, okay, what are the things that need to be involved in order for me to get there? And I started thinking about them. I started laying them out. And then I thought, I really don't want to do that. It's not in my blood, in my heart, in my head, thinking I really want to do this. But I could spend all those hours researching, reflecting, speaking, editing, talking, reaching out on a podcast for the podcast, because it's something that it really sets me on fire at the moment. So you got to think, what are you optimizing for? And is what you are optimizing for in line with what you want to do? Because it's so easy to be told that you need to do this or you want to do this, or you see other people doing this and then you change direction. Exactly like we were talking about with the car analogy before. You've got to take control of your wheel. And this is the part where you do it first, even before you look at what motivates you, is what are you optimizing for? And then when you find out what you're optimizing for, and if you want to optimize for it, then that's when you can start to dial in habit, routine, discipline, and motivation around your why. And it's so much more powerful because, again, stealing and butchering another Hamoudi quote, he talks about how you need to find the thing that everybody else finds difficult that you find easy, or you find enjoyable, and that you can tolerate hour after hour after hour. And of course, there's going to be parts of jobs which you don't want to do. And it's, again, we'll look at how do we find enjoyment in the things we don't want to do. And part of that starts with goals. Even for myself recently, I've been training pretty hard. But when I implement a goal on top of that, my motivation just soars up. So yesterday I was sat in a cafe, and I still hadn't booked the bike race yet that I was supposed to be doing. It's a good job you bought an electric bike, isn't it? And I've saved it on my tab now. I'm booking it today. I'm doing a 100k ride from Brisbane to the Gold Coast, and putting that in the calendar now. Every time I step onto the bike or onto Zwift or whatever I'm doing, I'm going to feel way more motivated to do it because I know there's a looming goal, which means there's pressure on me. There's people that know about it because I'm telling you about it. And there's accountability there with it. So setting a goal, one, gives you a drive, and two, then when you tell other people about it, it then gives you accountability. So think about and write down what your goal is, or remind yourself of what the goal is daily, or put it somewhere that's obvious, because it will put pressure on yourself to know that there's a date looming. And if you haven't got a date looming, create something for yourself. If it's just fat loss, you might want to think like I've been doing the last couple of weeks as a 5-week mini cut, and I'm telling people about it because it puts pressure on me to keep accountable to it. So that's the thing you've got to think about. And then you need to think about, those things. What are the cheeses and what are the rats? And the reason I say this is because it's a big one for me. I don't want to be embarrassed. I guess that's what I'd call the cat. The cat, the rat, and the cheese. The cheese is what pulls you towards the goal, the reward. And the cat is what is chasing you, the painful thing. And you're the rat, unfortunately. You're in the rat race. So for me, the cat is embarrassment of failure, embarrassment of not doing good enough, the pressure of other people. The cheese is the triumph at the end. I'm going to be doing it for cancer research again, which is great. I get to contribute towards that. I may have friends who are there on the day as well. That's a great endorphin release for me at the finish line. There's a dopamine hit once to finish doing it. So there's all these things. If you think about yourself in the rat race, what is your cheese and what is your cat? That's another really good way to think about motivation of what's going to gear you up. I think if you have both of those, then it is really, really powerful. I think whenever you bring pain into an equation, it is such a powerful driver. And I've not actually made any notes on how pain impacts motivation, but even just reflecting on it right now, I think pain can be used for so many different fuels or motives in life. And if there's one of them that I've used it for before, it's training and exercise. And I think a lot of people can get that. You just got to be careful how far you push it and how far away you lock yourself away from other people. But pain can definitely be used to fuel what you're doing. And if it's being fueled as a pain for even pain that's been caused by somebody else, if it's pain that's been caused by somebody else, you can definitely use it as I wouldn't say revenge, but I know a lot of people will use it for as I'll show them. And you can show them in a way which isn't narcissistic or Machiavellian. It can be used in a way where you rise up in silence out of the darkness and you reclaim you reclaim your status, and you can show people in that way. And you will rise as the cream does, and you will bring like positivity around you and your name, and other people will hear about it. But by that point, you'll be too busy and preoccupied and feeling good about yourself that you won't even be worrying about the reason that you started it, which was potentially in spite of somebody else. So I think it's definitely one of those things that you can use. Like a lot of people will use the goal of, I want a six pack. That's why they start the fitness journey. And then as they come further through it, they realize the six pack was the thing that got them started. But now they love hitting PBs and they love going for runs and they love hanging out doing fitness classes with friends. And there can be a reason that gets you started. It's usually something of pain or bullying or bad memory or a bad circumstance. But then once you get moving, it's the other things that keep the journey going and keep the boat afloat. And this is why with motivation, I think maybe even bigger than anything else and most important is the people that you surround yourself with. And this can work in two ways. It can be as a positive in respect to there can be negative people around. You think, I don't want to be like them, or don't want their relationship with training or exercise. I don't want their relationship with diet and nutrition, or I don't want their relationship with friends and family and social life. And there could be people around you who elevate you and require a different and higher standard of yourself because they are setting the bar so high themselves. And the thing that you've got to think is that you can only grow in line with your environment. Exactly the same as when you buy a goldfish or a fish and you're told at the pet store, this fish will only grow as big as the fish bowl. It's exactly the same with yourself. You can only grow as big as your environment will let you. If you're around people who have self-limiting beliefs, or they only want you to be the version of yourself that best serves them, then you're only going to be able to grow to a certain capacity. You need to outgrow that friendship group or outgrow that environment in order for you to be the next best version of yourself. And it sounds really difficult and nasty and dark to be cutting off friends, but ultimately you are here for you. And you've got to think about what you want. And there's always going to be more friends. And the good ones, they'll stick around anyway. They'll be the ones that as other friends walk away from you and leave you in the darkness, they'll walk into the dark and take your hand. You'll find out who people are, not necessarily when you're at your worst or you're in pain. Sometimes when you're at your best and you've got things to cheer about. When jealousy creeps in, that's when you'll find out who true friends are. And that's why it's important that when you're on a journey of growth or self-development or whatever you're looking to do next in life, it could just be a small goal. So just dropping a couple of pounds, even that can be really impacted by other people and what their thoughts are and what their opinions are on it. So make sure that the people that you surround yourself with are the people who are really going to be on this growth journey with you and support you in any way possible. Okay, so how can you get others to do hard shit? So it might not even be just about you. It might be looking at how can you get someone else on the journey along with you? Because if you have an accountability buddy, like we've just been saying about the people that are around you, the environment that is around you, there's going to be a huge change in the way that you're able to elevate yourself. And I think a really easy way to do that, if we tie it back to health and fitness and training, whatever else it is, if it's somebody who's maybe fell off the bandwagon a little bit, sometimes there needs to be a time where you will ask them a serious question. And it might be, so we've got a friend, Steve. Steve has got a little bit lazy. His diet habits have got a bit bad. He's always going KFC on the way home from work. He used to go and train at least, 1 to 3 times a week in the gym, and he got out for a couple of walks on weekends, and that's been replaced with Xbox and late nights in front of the TV. Asking a simple question such as, Steve, how do you feel about your health at the moment? Sometimes that's enough just to awaken someone up. And sometimes you might find people get defensive about it. And your job is not to help them and dictate to them and put yourself in a position where you're above them. Sometimes it's just to listen. It's not to nag. But once you've planted that seed within their head, it'll start to grow and they'll think about it a little bit more. That's all you need to do if you want to try and help someone or you want to try and get others to do hard shit. It's to plant a seed which is done with great intention. You don't push people into it, you pull people into it. And you can pull them with your own positive energy. So I think that's the one of the best ways if you're looking to try and get your partner or friend or family member who maybe has slipped a little bit to do hard things and motivate them, is to use questions that are going to entice curiosity. Because curiosity, hence the title of the podcast, curiosity creates motivation. If you can be curious about something, you don't necessarily have to want to do it, but if you're curious about the process and the outcome, curiosity is such a powerful tool in motivating people. Yeah, how did you do that? How did you find that out? Not just what the result was. And this is where different types of motivation can play into what you're going to do next and your goal is. And these are described as extrinsic and intrinsic. I remember doing these inside A-level sports studies for anyone who was in that category at school who was potentially like me, very average, but just very sporty. This was kind of the subject that really got my, I'm not going to say the crude quote, but it floated my boat. So extrinsic motivation are those that arise from outside the individual and often involve rewards such as trophies, money, social recognition, or praise. And we have to think about what are the results and average effects from this. Because with extrinsic motivation, there's an initial boost, there's more productivity. And the only thing with it is, though, sometimes if we use extrinsic motivation, and this can happen to people in the workplace, is that it often produces quantity and not quality. So, for example, if we use pay as an example for an employee, I'm looking at overtime, it might produce more work, but it doesn't always produce a better quality of work. Someone who really enjoys what they're doing and they're doing it for a purpose which is intrinsic is often, not always, going to produce more quality work. And intrinsic motivations are those that arise from within the individual, such as doing a complicated crossword puzzle purely for the personal gratification of solving a problem. Now, the thing to remember is that not all tasks are going to be intrinsically motivating to everybody. Hence what we were talking about before, about finding something that maybe is painful to other people, that you find manageable or easy, or something that you can progress well in. And this is why the why or the purpose is always the root of where your motivation is going to come from. Because you can be out there catching motivation, sticking your head out the window, being the fisherman in the boat. But if it's for something that you don't really want to do, motivation is going to die at some point. If somebody was, paying me to do something that I really, really didn't want to do, hence why I left the police. Yeah, and that's one of the things that my dad said to me when I left is, you've got a good pension, you're getting a good salary. Why would you want to do that? Is because it didn't matter about the pay. I really just wasn't enjoying the job, and the job was causing me to be not physiologically, but psychologically impacted. And I knew I wanted to do something that just made me happy. And 6 months after that, I was probably earning a quarter of the wage, but way more happy. And this is why I say that the extrinsic motivation isn't always the most powerful tool. It, again, might get you started, but it's got to come from intrinsically. It's got to be aligned with your purpose and your why. So that's what you need to, I think, I want you to think about anything today when it comes to about motivation, is to start thinking about your purpose and your why. Why are you doing it? It could be with your job, your career, your fitness journey. The fitness journey is a big one. I think especially recently with the rise of different sports and running and high rocks and weight loss, whatever it may be, is the reason you want to lose a couple of pounds for you? Is the reason that you want to get the high rocks time for you? Is the reason that you have switched back to doing bodybuilding or bike or whatever it may be, the goal is the reason that you're doing it for you? Or is it because you're trying to impress somebody else? Just try and think about that. Got to be in line with your purpose before you go all in on it. Because then when you find out what your purpose is, you start to become obsessed with it. And the obsession is what starts to change the brain's wiring and patterns. And by the way, obsession is not unhealthy if it is aligned with your purpose. It just means you've found something worth going all in with. I think obsession is sometimes looked as it's one of those things, it's unhealthy. We shouldn't be obsessed about things. Obsession is just another word that the lazy use for dedicated. I don't believe in that bullshit. But if it is in line with your purpose, then it is definitely a healthy obsession to have. But how do you fall in love with a task? I think that's the big one, because we all do tasks, whether it be something as mundane as painting the fence or cutting the grass or washing the dishes. Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to be needing to listen to David Goggins if you're going to wash your dinner dishes. I think if you're having problems doing that, it's a lot deeper than motivation. But one of the ways that it's been actually been found is by lying about it to someone. And this sounds fucking crazy when I say it. Especially when the first podcast I talked about how being truthful and honest is one of the most important things. This is where lying can be beneficial. So if I did this workout that was really shitty and really hard and really boring, but when I came home, I tell people how amazing it was, my brain actually starts to believe it. I guess it's like a fake positivity or a manifestation of something that you thought it was great. So the afterthought that you give it, especially when you speak it out loud to other people, it really has an impact on the brain. This is why I'm a fan of fake positivity as well, because if you can be fake happy or put on a fake smile, it actually helps you to then be happy and be positive, because you're leaning into the things and doing the things that are going to make you happy. So one of the ways that you can actually get yourself to fall in love with a task is to lie about it. This is the thing I think about as well, and I thought about it a lot when I've been in Australia, is often, before I even say it, what is your response when someone asks you how your day's been or how you are? Not bad. Been better. It's okay. I try and respond now with perfect, amazing. I've had the best day. Because it then makes the rest of the day feel that way. And if people are, I don't know, upset by your response or, oh, all right, mate, then you got to think about what type of day are they having. And maybe even your response will help them have a better day and go out and do something about the way that they're feeling about their day. So I think that's an important one, is you can just lie to yourself about things because the brain doesn't know what is real and what is not. And this is where manifestation comes into it as well. And the way that you can apply this is by finding something, a task, in a task that you enjoy. So, for example, what is the hook? What's the hook that is in? What can we sink our hook into within a task or within something or with a session or with something in life that we've been putting off that makes us curious about it? Like I said before, curiosity is a thing that can get you to do something even if you're not motivated to do it. It happened for me in school all the time. Like, I never wanted to do maths. I never wanted to do the maths work, but I was sometimes curious about how something occurred or how something happens, because we are often driven by the question, not the answer, as human beings. And that is how we find flow state. I think everybody's looking for how they find a flow state. How do they get into a rhythm of work where it feels effortless, painless, and that work is just virally spewing out? It's on this journey. It's like a river, just flows. And that ties into how do we do hard things or things we don't want to do. So, for example, I'll use painting the fence, because I don't think there's many people on planet Earth like, I can't wait to paint the fence today. Can't wait to get in that back garden and get shit all over me and splinters all over my hands. It just doesn't happen very often, unless probably you're my old man. So ask yourself the question of something that you really dislike doing, and then ask yourself, how motivated are you on a scale of 1 to 10? So for me, I'm probably, 2 out of 10 motivated to paint the fence. How can we find purpose in painting the fence? Well, if I think about it, I did art at A level as a subject. So for me, I might think about when I was doing art at A level, and that's the only thing that maybe takes me back to then being a younger teenager child, and it takes me back to when I was doing art and something that I enjoyed. And that sounds really obscure, but you can always find something within the task. If it's cutting the lawn, I might think about, I'm getting more steps in whilst I'm cutting the lawn. I'm getting some form of physical activity in. And it can be as simple as that. How can you find something within the system where you have a purpose for doing it? And it's just flipping the switch on the task that you're doing to make it a lot more positive or beneficial in a different way. And that's the thing that takes a level of self-awareness, because when we're thinking about things we don't want to do, we're thinking about things we don't want to do. And we've already tied a negative thought process with it. But we need to step back, because you can't see something that's on the end of your nose. I can't see my finger on the end of my nose right now unless I put it a foot in front of me. And that's what you need to do with the task or the problem, is look at it from a different way and look at the process in a different way and find the purpose to it. And when you find enjoyment, there's less chance of you stopping doing that in the face of obstacles. So when something comes up and you're enjoying it, you're way, 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 way more likely to continue past the obstacle or continue past the hurdle. So we can find that flow state, we can find that enjoyment, we can find that purpose. That's what really is going to take us past it. And for some people listening to this now, and probably me 5 years ago listening to this, would think it was la-di-da bullshit. But trust me, if you really listen to this podcast and the words I'm saying and the why and the purpose and thinking about these analogies of the tasks, how you find different things within them that you can enjoy, it will honestly make tasks feel so much easier. I'm just trying to think now, if I'm going for a run, one of the things, and obviously the big benefits of it is that, yeah, I'm going to get fitter. Yeah, my PB 5, 10, 20K time may get better. But the other thing is that, I might be able to enjoy the optic flow. It might be the only part of the day where I don't spend time on my phone or technology or speaking to other people, having other people's thoughts and wants put into my head, and I can just think what I want to think. There's another thing with running. I'm sure you can think about different things where there's tasks, or there's things you need to do, that there could be a purpose within inside, that it creates something, an enjoyability that makes you then want to do it. So, on to the topic that I was just speaking about before, which is manifesting. As I mentioned in the last couple of weeks' podcasts, I've been reading a book. I think it was called, shows how much I've been taking notice of the front cover, but it's called Those Who Say We Can't, We Do. And the main premise of it is all around manifestation. I've been really looking a lot into manifesting, because again, the Ben of 5 years ago would just think it was bullshit. But the more I've been thinking about it, the more I've been doing it, the more I've realized how things start to come to me. And even if you don't believe in the universe serving you things that you manifest out there, when you start to manifest these things, like I said before, the brain doesn't know the difference between you having them and you thinking about them. And even if you do just think about them all the time, what are you then going to do? You're going to start to live your life in a way which brings these things towards you. Even in thinking about something which is maybe superficial, like a Rolex watch, if all I keep thinking about is a Rolex watch, I'm probably firstly going to keep seeing it all the time, and it's going to become a motive to me. So I'm going to do everything in my power possible to lean into work, to make more money, to make sure that I get a Rolex. I know it's a really superficial way of thinking it, but just on my watch on my arm. I'm not wearing a Rolex, by the way. And you can do this with other things in life, because whatever you keep thinking about, you're going to start living in line with, you're going to start putting your energy into, you're going to start drifting away from the other things. And it is super, super, super powerful, especially when you start to rewire your brain with it. That's why I start most mornings after I've done my ice bath and my breathing techniques. I'll think about things I really want in life right now. It could be a partner. If you start to manifest about, being with someone or things that are going to come of it, maybe you'll start to put yourself in social situations that you wouldn't put yourself in before, because you're manifesting that. So then you're living your life in aim with it. The only thing you shouldn't manifest is exactly how it's going to happen, because I think then you can then shut doors to other avenues or ways that you're potentially going to get that thing. So don't manifest the process, manifest the thing. See yourself with it, see yourself holding it, having it, buying it, purchasing it, living with it, feeling it, smelling it, whatever those things are. Make it as real as possible, because manifestation, it can be so powerful to motivating you and pushing you towards something. To some people, they'll be seen as, when they do this, to be delusionally optimistic. And I'm a big fan of delusional optimism. I think there's too much pessimism in the world with the news and the people around. The people are going, oh, I've had an average day. Be delusionally optimistic. Tell yourself you're having a fantastic day. Tell people how great you are. Look in the mirror, look at yourself, and think about how fucking great you are. Tell yourself, pick something out and tell yourself how great it is, because you start to believe it more. And equally, if you keep telling yourself you're a fat piece of shit, or you're a baldy prick, or you're a failure, guess what will also happen then? You'll rewire your brain to think that way. So really recognize the voice that speaks to you on a day-to-day basis and take control of it, because you are not your brain. Because if you were, you wouldn't speak to yourself the way that your brain speaks to you. And you wouldn't accept it from other people or friends either. Imagine if you spoke to yourself the way that, imagine if you spoke to friends the way that sometimes you speak to yourself. You probably wouldn't have many friends. So make sure that after this podcast, when you're looking in the mirror or in the rear driving mirror of your car or wherever you are, just tell yourself something and notice how you feel. Say something positive to yourself. Because when you start to do these things, and it can even be something as simple as, you want to be confident. It might not be something that's materialistic. And when you start to think about, what does a confident person do? Well, you'll start to walk that way. You'll talk that way. You'll see it. You'll feel it. You'll live your life with it, and you'll bring more of it. And the confidence will start to ooze out of you. And you'll start to have evidence of it because you'll start to do things that you didn't do before, and people can sense it around you as well. It's your ability to embed your intention into your subconscious. That's what manifestation is. I'll say that again. It is your ability to embed your intention into your subconscious. So those intentions are just in the back of your mind all the time, even when you're not thinking about it. And that's why you start to live in line with it. And that coupled with motivation, that's a superpower. And I think I heard, it might have been Chris Williamson or somebody on the podcast world was talking about the expectation effect. And it was done in a study with people who or claim to be gluten intolerant, because this is the thing now, is that gluten intolerance has increased from 3% to 30% in 10 years. And, lifestyle and food groups haven't changed that much in the last 10 years for the beat. It's that, 100% increase in, it's even more than that in the last 10 years. And what happened with this study was that they told people in a room, there's a group that was gluten-free and a group that was gluten intolerant, and they told them that they were going to go into study, and in the food there was gluten in the meal, and they had to eat anyway. And what happened was the gluten intolerant, they were told there was going to be gluten in the meal. However, all the foods were gluten-free. So within the gluten intolerant group, some of them had diarrhea, were being sick, said they felt nauseous, said they felt ill. I think even maybe there's some people in the group that were gluten tolerant. There was even people in that group who had similar symptoms. And that just goes to show the expectation effect. I guess it's like a placebo effect of things that happen when we expect them to. And this is what you've got to think about when you're thinking about your brain and manifestation as well. There's a degree of expectation. If you go into dating or relationships or workspace or an interview and you're expecting not to get the job or not to get the partner or not to get the thing, what do you think is going to start to happen? What do you think you're going to start to live your life in that way? If you expect the result to always be negative, what do you think you're setting the tee up of life to happen, for the result to be? You've got to really think about, I know sometimes if you've been through things and the result of those things has been a negative or something painful, maybe your expectations are in line with that. But that's why we've got to redefine our purpose and our why and start to set our intentions and manifest a different result. Because guess what? Nothing's going to change if nothing changes. And you've got to start with the brain and rewiring that and motivation. And maybe this is a slightly different episode to what you thought it was going to be when we're talking about motivation. But I wanted to get deeper into the real reasons why you're not motivated. It's because you're thinking about motivation in the wrong way. It's not a 50 Cent video. It's not Usain Bolt running the PB in the 100 meters. It's not Hunter McIntyre doing the world record high rocks run. It's not, clips of Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson. It's not clips of Ronaldo and Messi. It's your intention, it's your purpose, it's your why. And that's where it starts. The other bits of motivation you can definitely lean into. It's playlists, it's Spotify. Music's a great thing to get you motivated in the moment. But for when you don't have the headphones or the screen or the people around you, when it's just you on the rower or on the road, listen to your own footsteps or listen to your own breath. How do you stay motivated then? And these are the things that will start to kick you on. So, plateau effect, the expectation effect, they're really big. And I guess this also comes to the question of like, how do you empower yourself? How do you feel empowered? Because that's what's going to get you going in the first place. You need to believe that behavior will lead to an outcome. You need to believe that this thing that you're doing is going to get this, because if you don't believe in it, it's not really going to happen. Belief is such a big part of manifesting and motivation. You got to believe that, me training 3 to 4 times a week and sticking to a calorie deficit is going to get this result. Again, coming back to expectations. Because then when you've got the expectations, we can start to go, okay, what is my identity? Identity, another big part of motivation is, for example, I had quite what would the word be that I'm looking for? I had quite an intense and difficult discussion, maybe. It was a discussion which opened up for debate with my housemates, and we were talking about identity. And this is a thing to think about. I don't think there's any right or wrong with it. Of when we take certain characteristics, when do you become that? When is it your identity? So, for example, if somebody says something that is racist, are they then a racist? If somebody cheats on their partner, are they then a cheater? If somebody does something which is narcissistic, are they then a narcissist? Like, is it based on frequency? Is it based on intensity? When does the identity then come about? And, there's different backs and forths, and some people said yes, some people said no. Some people said it have to happen more than once. And then I use the example of, okay, somebody has murdered someone, are they a murderer? And it seems like the more intense that something is, the answer is then yes, they deserve the label straight away. And then I use the example of running, because this is what a lot of people do, is they'll start a running journey and you might be leaving the house and go to your partner, darling, I'm just going for a run. And it might be a couple of weeks down the line of you stop telling people that you're going for a run and you start to tell people that you're a runner. You then take the label, you then identify as that, because identity is powerful, both in a positive way and in a negative way. This is what I came back to before, the way that you talk to yourself. If you start to call yourself a runner or a cyclist or a high rock star, you should start to perform better. You should start to have a better outcome because you identify with it. But you've got to ask yourself again, is it worth it? That's where it came to me before when I was thinking about really pushing myself in the high rock sphere. Is it worth it for me? Or does it take away from other things that I really have a passion for, that I'm good at? Because I really believe I'm a great podcast, and I really believe I'm going to take this podcast special places. And this is, sorry, just to backtrack with this, I really want to say thank you. This is the first podcast that I've recorded since I've launched the podcast, because my plan was to launch an episode a week. And then I had some advice from very, very good and more knowledgeable people than me to launch 3 episodes at once. And that's what we did. Now I'm back catching up with episodes. But I just want to say thank you for all the amazing comments that you've been leaving on Spotify and YouTube and the DMs. Please continue to tag me in your Instagram stories if you listen to it, because I will message you back. And there will be some more polls on Spotify. And I love reading the comments that you guys drop in Spotify and YouTube. Honestly, it makes my day. The first day after I launched it, I went into the comments. I honestly felt a little bit emotional just reading them, because the impact. The big goal for me is never to aim to have a huge, enormous audience. I much prefer to have depth than width with my audience and with you and the relationship that we build through this podcast. And that's what really means a lot to me. And from those comments, it honestly meant a great deal. And to celebrate on top of that, we also got into, I think it was the highest we've been so far, is 27th in the health and fitness podcast chart, which for the first week is just unbelievable. And I couldn't be more thankful. It's only because of you. Because of you sharing it, telling other people about it, liking it, subscribing. And again, if you're listening, wherever you're listening to, please just either pause it now or after the podcast, just hit the subscribe button, because it really helps me to then push the podcast, deliver a better version of the podcast, improve it, and get guests on. Because hopefully next week we'll be recording with one or two of our first guests, which I'm really excited about. So again, thank you for that. And I'm now identifying again as a podcaster. So why is motivation inconsistent? Well, one of the most common causes of the inconsistency is a lack of discipline or commitment, which we've spoken about before. Discipline's always going to trump motivation. And I really believe that starts to occur and comes around through your habits. You know, you got to keep that fire burning. You need to feed it fuel. It needs to be topped up. It's not just going to be an everlasting thing. And motivation isn't some sort of magical emotion that transforms everything around and it makes you feel like super determined that you're going to achieve your goals. You need to have that belief in the first place. And a great analogy that describes motivation is it's like a rocket that launches a vessel into space. It can provide the initial thrust, but can never carry you forward for long. It just gives you that initial power to get off the ground. And then the habits and then the discipline has got to then set in. Because we're all motivated when something first starts. Quite often, say for example, it's a 12-week fat loss journey that we're talking about. Motivation is often like an hourglass. It starts off, really big and really wide at the top. We've got a lot of motivation. Then often it gets into the middle and we take a dip. This is where people's motivation and belief and maybe a little bit of psychological fatigue, mental fatigue kick in. And then as we get towards the last couple of weeks, it kicks out again because you haven't got long left. We just got to think about those periods for you when motivation starts to decline and focusing on the things that are going to increase motivation. Remove all the things that distract you, because you will eventually realize that moving ahead is painful. It's an uncomfortable process, and it's only discipline and commitment again that are going to get you through it. Nobody's motivated 24/7. However, I think people aspire to be motivated 24/7, probably because of social media. I was sitting on the toilet this morning. Sorry if you are eating and you've now got this visual representation of me sitting on the throne. But I just couldn't be arsed going for a run or doing the bike. And I doom scroll for a little bit to a certain point, and then I remembered my why. So even people like me who maybe sometimes watch, and it happens to all people, happens to every single person. Because what you've got to remember, right from the bottom of the pile, right to the creme de la creme with athletes or business owners or gurus, nobody has a fucking clue what they're doing. We are all winging it. Nobody's got this shit figured out. Nobody. We're all just winging our way through this thing that we call life. And along the way, we'll find some stuff out. We'll find stuff that works. We'll find stuff that doesn't work. But at the end of the day, we've got to keep moving no matter what and not quit. So that's why you've got to get the thing out of your head that you should be motivated 24/7. Because I think the theory that you should always be motivated is what causes people not to be motivated. There's a huge difference between commitment and motivation, and that's why it comes in waves, and it comes in highs, and it comes in lows, and it comes in surges of motivation. And sometimes it rushes over us, and then sometimes it disappears, and sometimes we feel great, and sometimes we feel like shit. Motivation is simply a desire for something. And a lot of people are motivated to perform better, to work harder, to be more consistent. However, what separates people is that the only small percentage are actually committed to doing the things that are necessary to do their best consistently. I think if you think about how can you do your best, that's another great thing from looking at maybe a result or a number or a set amount of hours or a thing or a metric is how can I just do my best? How can I just perform my best today? And then you start to maybe think about recovery or fuel or sleep or revision or hours or your setup or your productivity or something that makes you feel good that is going to allow you to deliver your best. And that's what I thought today with the podcast, is because a few things went wrong. The lighting's slightly off today. I've had to do it in the middle of the day rather than later on. I just thought, it doesn't even matter about any of those things, those factors that maybe are out of my control or I can't do or I can do. I'm just going to try and deliver my best to you guys and deliver the best content possible, because that's ultimately what matters, is me delivering my best to you so that you get the most out of it and I can pay you back for listening for an hour or whatever it may be. So I think the one way that you can think about dealing with motivation is to take it in chunks. So for example, if we've got to paint the whole house, we don't paint the house, we paint the walls. We paint the walls within the rooms, we chunk it into rooms. I think chunking and habits is the next thing that I want to speak about, and how we can get really clear, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, on ways of looking at motivation. So he states that when a mistake happens once, it is just that, a mistake. However, when it is repeated, it's no longer a mistake, the start of a bad habit. Develop enough of those, and this will start to shape your identity. So the things that you repeatedly do is who you are. So having strong, reliable, and positive habits is great to allow you not to rely on motivation as a tool for achieving something. And I think I would like to think that this is obvious to most people. You want to think about the individual. Maybe there's a person you look at in life, or maybe it's a version of yourself in the future that you want to be like. So for me, I think about what are the habits of future Benji that make him a great business owner, a great podcaster, healthy, fit, gearing up for a family life. What habits lead to him being like that? And I'll start to just integrate those habits within my day. And then guess what? I start to live life in that way, and I start to get closer to it. So once you've done the habit enough times, it becomes intrinsic, like we were talking about with intrinsic motivation. It naturally starts to occur, and you're making sure you get out on the walk, or get out on the run, or do the tasks, or get them completed, because you know they align with the version of you that's in the future. And the 4 things that James Clear talks about when it comes to habit formation is to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So you need to remember those 4 things. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So making obvious, that might be for going for a run. It might be leaving your gym kit and your running shoes out at the end of your bed. It might be leaving your gym kit out. That's number 1. Making it attractive, it might be buying some new gym kit that makes you feel good. Number 3, making it easy, you might leave it at the end of your bed, so when you first get up, it's there straight away. And making it satisfying might be rewarding yourself after you've done the run with something nutritious, a coffee that you've been waiting to have, or some kind of small reward for the day, because that creates a positive feedback loop, and it's the basis of behaviorism. So those are 4 things, and that's the really easy way to think about it as a runner if you're going running. And a quote that I absolutely love that I've jotted down in my notes as well. I take a lot of Mark Manson quotes, so I absolutely love him. One day we will get him on the podcast. That's one of the things I'm trying to change in my language. Language is a big thing when it comes to manifesting things that we've got to pick ourselves up on. It's something that I've been doing regularly this week. It's picking up on my own dialogue and language and the way that I say things. Instead of saying, if it happens, I'm saying, when it happens. But Mark Manson, quote, "Extraordinary results are a matter of repeating ordinary actions over a long period of time." I'll say that again. Extraordinary results are a matter of repeating ordinary actions over a long period of time. Do you think of anything that is worthy, or anything maybe that your idols have won, achieved, done? They've just done it via the everyday tasks over and over again. The difference is that a lot of people give up or they quit. I was having this exact same conversation last night with my flatmate, Ollie, is that the reason why he's doing so well at the moment is because he doesn't throw a towel and he doesn't quit. And that's such a simple way to look at it, but you look at anyone who's ran big businesses and got to the top, they just didn't quit in the face of adversity and problems. Because the problem's always the problem. Like, I had an issue yesterday and the problem happened yesterday, but I'm the one who drags the problem into today and into tomorrow. I'm the only person who has that ability to take the problem from being 24 hours ago and taking it into the rest of the week, because it happened yesterday, it's gone. But it's the way that I view it, see it, and deal with it that then dictates how long it remains in my life for. And that's the way you've got to see problems. You have the power, you have the ability to change how you see the problem, because the problem was yesterday. Today is today, tomorrow is tomorrow, and you have the ability to say that's gone. I think that's a great way to try and look at things, and the extraordinary things and the ordinary things. And the reason that the Mark Manson quote slaps so hard is because how many times when motivated do we go and buy the full bundle of subs, buy the new running shoes, buy the program, get the sexy clothes, start moving at 100 miles an hour. We do the things that are easily achievable, but we never do the most important stuff. We never do the boring stuff. We never do the unsexy part, the stuff that actually moves the needle forward. I think you just need to do more and prep less. And that for some people is going to be difficult, especially maybe if you're a bit of a perfectionist with content or work, whatever it is. You always need to think that done is better than perfect. And it can be difficult. It's not easy. It's why there's probably so many views about motivation on YouTube and podcasts and other areas of life, because it comes in waves. And that's why we've got to think about purpose, why, conflict, the parts of us that do want to change and the parts of us that don't want to change, and where that conflict occurs and why it occurs. And after you've looked at this, you've assessed life, maybe where the conflict is. Here's the problem. The problem is not really the problem. Like we've explained, it's only what you carry forward with you into the foreseeable. And I guess some of the ways for me, just on a practical note, that you can probably take away from today's podcast straight away, as well as the deeper reasons that do help to motivate me, maybe in the moment. For example, before a training session this week on the bike, I've been watching a lot of the Tour de France, because watching those guys who are achieving great feats and put themselves through a lot of work really motivates me. And I guess it's like upwards gratitude that they've done a lot harder jobs that I can put in the work. Other things that motivate me is the environment, the people around me, my housemates. Other things that really motivates me is seeing other people's success, seeing them do well, and thinking, I'd like a piece of that. I'd like to secure more in my future and be able to provide and have more money in the bank, or to have more freedom or enjoy more holidays. I think a good Spotify list, one of the ones I've had for ages. I think I actually created it in 2021 or 2022. It's called Time to Get Mazzy on Spotify, which is basically short for Time to Get Massive. And it's a playlist of like kind of hard hitting tunes that I always listen to on a leg day or a difficult day. And it really gets the juices flowing. I think music is such a powerful thing in changing your mood, whether it be around the house and I'm listening to some swing music, or whether I'm on the way to the gym and I'm listening to Death Lord Jam or whatever it is, which is really going to get me up for a workout. Music can be a great motivator. I think something else that motivates me is the way that I feel in gym clothes. This is why it's really important, is I take pride in the way that I look when I go to the gym, not because I care about necessarily so much about what other people think, but more so about how I feel intrinsically with what I'm wearing. If I feel good, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, I'm going to train better. Don't just rock up from work, throw your clothes off and put a bin bag on and go for a run, or go to the gym, or have a load of clothes that are creased and you look like fucking Humpty Dumpty or whatever, and you feel like a piece of shit when in the gym because you're really anxious. And it's not because other people are judging you, it's because of the way that you feel and what you're doing or what you're wearing. For me, it's a big factor in how I'm then going to train. And this is why, obviously, in terms of the gym attire industry, it's such a big thing, because people do like to feel good when they go and train. Not everybody. Some people don't give a shit. But if it's something that you take pride in, and it's going to make you feel more comfortable when you train, then it's something for me that definitely motivates me, is having either new gym kit or wearing gym kit that makes me feel good and look good. So that's something else to try. Supplementation is a big thing as well. I think having the right supplements and the right recovery is definitely motivating, or having the energy or being fueled well just makes me feel better, like I fueled my body properly and efficiently. What else makes me feel good or makes me motivated? A podcast, preferably mine. Definitely something I've been doing when I'm on the bike a lot is watching a lot more podcasts. Something that passes the time. If I can multitask and learn something at the same time, brilliant. The other thing that's really motivating is pulling friends into my life more. So I've been doing a lot more running and meeting a lot of new people through cycling. That's something that can be uncomfortable. Like I said before, when I first came over to Australia, I didn't know anybody. And now I've met like a great group of people. I've spent a lot of time living with a group of people. I've met new people cycling. I've met someone else online this week who I'm going to go cycling with at the weekend. And the weekend after that, I'm going to sign up to a bike race and potentially meet new people at the race. And then I'm going to exercise with them. Exercise with people has been shown for your own accountability and motivation to trump most things, because you're doing it and you're accountable to somebody else, and it passes time way quicker as well. So what motivates me is doing stuff with other people. I think it's great. I think we're social creatures, and we're raised to do stuff with other people. It doesn't always have to be. You can obviously be a lone ranger and do hard shit and get your Goggins mentality and locked in there sometimes and just go and crush 50 miles or whatever other shit you got to do. But it's nice to do stuff with other people sometimes as well. And I think the biggest thing is having a training program. Having something that you stick to and works is so much more motivating than continuing to turn up at the gym or the run or whatever the thing is. Maybe you just need business coaching. Having someone to guide you through it is basically plugging holes. You can be doing something within a program or with coaching, whatever it is, and it can be like pouring water into a sieve. You need to plug all those holes, because all that lost effort is just losing you time and energy and money. If you put your time and energy and money into something that that works, or you've seen someone who gets results, then you're going to bypass things, and it's going to make you way more motivated because you're going to get results quicker. And this is the thing that, especially if you're looking to do something within the fitness space, I am currently in the motion of developing my one-to-one coach at the moment. So if you want to know more about that, you can drop me an email to ben@mycoachschool.com. I'll put that email in the description as well. If you can pick it up, you can drop me an email, only for coaching stuff. Don't pop any of the questions anywhere else. If you have any questions relating to the podcast, or if you have a question that you would like me to answer in the future episodes, you can drop that over to ben@unhingedcuriosity.com. So again, ben@unhingedcuriosity.com. And that's something I'm going to be opening up over these next couple of episodes. If people want to ask me questions and would like me to answer something, you can email them over to me there. I'm going to be doing some Q&A episodes at some point as well. But hopefully you took a lot away from this episode. Hopefully it was useful. And if you did, please share and tell other people about it, because that would mean a lot to me. And if you're not yet, like I said before, subscribe to the channel, like it if you watch it on YouTube. And yeah, drop a comment somewhere as well. As I said, it really lights up my day. Whether you think, I'll never see it, I actually do. I see pretty much all the comments, whether on Spotify or YouTube, or whether it's tagged on Instagram. And it honestly makes everything that I do worth it. And I just wanted to say thank you again for anybody who's joined me on this new journey with the podcast. It's something that I'm really enjoying doing. I have great goals and plans for this podcast of where I'm going to take it and what I want to do. But most of all, I want to learn from myself, and I want hopefully you guys to come along for that journey and have a voice in your corner every single week. So again, thank you for listening. I've been Benji. You've been you. I'll see you next week.